we are delving into a deeply tragic case that shook all of Sweden. This story of obsession and heartbreak is incredibly moving. In 2008, Emma Janjestig, a mother of two, had her peaceful life shattered by a horrific incident that captured the nation's attention and became one of the most shocking cases the country has ever seen. Emma was born on February 16, 1985, in Stockholm, Sweden. She grew up in a simple family as the younger sister of Katrina. The two shared a strong bond throughout their childhood. Emma's life changed when she met Nicholas, who soon became her husband. At the age of 19, she married him, whom she had been dating since high school. Their young love faced challenges as they started a family. They had their first child, a son named Max when she was 20, and then a daughter named Saga just a year and a half later. Although they were blessed with two beautiful children, the realities of family life soon became challenging for them. In their early 20s, they struggled to handle the pressures of raising a family while still figuring out their own lives. Financial issues and daily stresses created tension between them, leading to constant arguments over small things. As time went on, their relationship began to fall apart. By the time their daughter Saga was born, they had reached a breaking point and decided to separate. Their split was anything but friendly. Disagreements over custody of their children made things even more difficult. While both Emma and Nicholas loved Max and Saga deeply, they couldn't agree on how to co-parent. This led to many legal battles, with each parent fighting for sole custody of their children. After separating from Nicholas, Emma wanted a fresh start. Amid the emotional and legal chaos of trying to gain custody of her two children, she met Torny Hellberg through an online forum. Torny was kind and understanding, and despite Emma's challenges as a young mother, they quickly formed a strong bond. Their relationship developed rapidly, and Emma decided to leave Stockholm to move to a small town called Arboga, about 150 kilometers away, where Torny lived. She took her children with her, hoping for a new beginning. Nicholas was unhappy with Emma's decision. He strongly opposed her moving the kids so far away, arguing it would make it hard for him to see Max and Saga regularly. This led to more custody battles, as Nicholas fought to keep the children close. Despite the struggles, Emma was determined to build a life with Torny. Torny welcomed Emma and her children with open arms. They initially lived in a small house he had inherited, quickly turning it into a cozy home. Though life wasn't perfect, their love for each other and the children gave them hope for a brighter future. In the summer of 2008, Emma and Torny were planning a simple wedding with their close family and friends. Life seemed to be falling into place for Emma, even with her ongoing struggles with Nicholas. She looked forward to a peaceful life with Torny. However, fate had a much darker turn in store for them. On March 17, 2008, the day started like any other. Torny left early for work while Emma stayed home with the children, 3-year-old Max and 1.5-year-old Saga. It was an ordinary Monday filled with typical household tasks. Emma planned to prepare dinner and eagerly awaited Torny's return. Little did she know that by the end of the day, her life would be shattered forever. As evening approached, Emma went about her usual routine. At around 6:30 p.m., she received a call from Torny, who was running late from work. He reassured her that everything was fine and suggested she have dinner with the children without him. Emma agreed to it. Later, she sat down at her computer to chat with her sister, Katrina, about their parents' upcoming wedding anniversary. Their conversation was light and casual, with Emma multitasking between her messages and caring for her kids. However, at exactly 7:07 p.m., their chat suddenly stopped. Emma was in the middle of typing a message when it didn't send. Katrina felt a wave of unease and called Emma's phone, but there was no answer. Assuming Emma had simply gotten distracted, Katrina tried to brush off her worry. Still concerned, she reached out to Torny, who was on his way home. He assured her that Emma was probably busy and promised to check on everything when he arrived. Torny was just minutes away from the house. At 7:20 p.m., just 13 minutes after Emma's last message, Torny arrived home. As he approached, he noticed the front door was slightly open. Initially, he thought Emma might have left it ajar while attending to the kids. But once inside, he was struck by an unsettling silence. The usual sounds of the children playing or Emma moving around were missing, and something felt off. Torny called out for Emma, Max, and Saga, but there was no reply. As he walked further into the house, he noticed a disarray. Furniture overturned and toys scattered. At first, he assumed the kids had been playing too roughly. Then he spotted something that chilled him to the bone. Dark red stains on the floor. Panic gripped him as he realized the stains were blood. His mind raced, trying to comprehend the scene before him. Torny saw what he first believed to be a doll in the corridor, lying on the floor in a contorted, strange manner. However, as he got closer, he was horrified to see that it was little Saga lying in a pool of her own blood. Her face was so horribly mutilated that it was unrecognizable. Max was lying nearby in a similar condition, with his skull fractured. Both children were brutally attacked. Torny's heart sank as he frantically searched for Emma, praying that she was still alive. He found her collapsed on the floor, covered in blood, her face shattered, and her body motionless. Shaking with fear and disbelief, Torny grabbed his phone, his hands unsteady as he called emergency services. Struggling to keep his voice steady, he reported the horrific incident. Within minutes, police and paramedics arrived. The sight that awaited them was horrifying. Both children and Emma had been attacked brutally at a level beyond comprehension. The house was in disarray, with blood all over the walls and floors. Miraculously, when paramedics checked them, they found faint pulses in all three. Despite their severe injuries, Emma, Max, and Saga were clinging to life. The paramedics rushed to stabilize them and rushed them to the nearest hospital. Emma was placed in a medically induced coma to help her body heal. Max and Saga, on the other hand, were in critical condition. Doctors had only little hope for the children's chances due to the severity of their brain injuries and significant blood loss. Even if they survived, it was likely they would face lasting challenges in their recovery. As medical teams worked to save them, forensic experts began their investigation at the chaotic crime scene. The chaotic state of the house, along with the paramedics' presence, made it difficult to determine what had happened. There were no clear signs of forced entry, and the unlocked front door suggested that Emma might have known the person and let them in willingly. By the end of that tragic night, the lives of 3 individuals were irrevocably altered. Despite all attempts to save them, Max and Saga succumbed to their injuries, never regaining consciousness. Emma, barely clinging to life, became the sole survivor of the brutal attack, left to face the unimaginable loss of her children and the trauma of the horrific events in their once peaceful home. While doctors fought to keep Emma alive, police launched their investigation into the crime. With no clear signs of a break-in and no immediate witnesses, they focused on those closest to Emma. Their first inquiry was directed at Torny Helberg, Emma's fiancé, who had discovered the scene. Given his proximity to the victims, he became a key person of interest. Still reeling from the trauma, Torny cooperated fully with the police, detailing his day and explaining that he had been at work. Arriving home around 7:20 p.m., shortly after Emma's last communication with her sister ended abruptly. The police interrogated him closely, looking for any inconsistencies in his account. Torny was visibly shaken, struggling to process the loss of the children and Emma's critical condition. However, as the investigation progressed, his alibi was confirmed. His boss and coworkers verified that he had been at work during the time of the incident, and surveillance footage showed him walking home at the relevant time. With a solid alibi and no motive, the police cleared him as a suspect and released him. Despite his innocence, the initial suspicion cast upon him deepened his grief. He had lost Max and Saga, whom he had come to love, and Emma, the woman he intended to marry, was still fighting for her life. Their shared future had been shattered in an instant. Emma's family, especially her sister Katrina, was devastated by the loss of Max and Saga and Emma's critical condition. As the days went by, the investigation ramped up. The police were determined to uncover the truth and bring the perpetrator to justice. They meticulously examined the crime scene, analyzed forensic evidence, and interviewed anyone who had interacted with Emma in the days before the attack. The violence of the crime suggested a personal motive, but the lack of clear suspects stalled the investigation. For Emma's family and Torny, the pain of losing the children was overwhelming. All they could do was wait for answers, hoping for justice and that the person behind this horrific act would be caught. With Torny cleared as a suspect, the police focused on Emma's ex-husband, Nicholas. Their contentious relationship, especially regarding custody of Max and Saga, made him a potential suspect. The ongoing legal battles had created significant tension, and Emma had previously reported threats from Nicholas, raising concerns about his potential involvement. Nicholas had struggled with Emma's decision to move away with their children, which limited his access to them and fueled his frustration during their custody disputes. When the police questioned him about the night of the attack, he appeared genuinely shocked and devastated by the news of the children's deaths. He insisted he would never harm them, despite the tension in their relationship. Nicholas claimed he was out of town on business during the attack, a statement that initially raised suspicion. However, as the investigation progressed, witnesses confirmed his alibi. He had been about 120 miles away, and hotel records, along with CCTV footage, corroborated his story. Though the police noted his past threats and the bitter custody battle, the evidence cleared him of any direct involvement in the attack. Christine Shurrer. As the investigation continued, police looked for other suspects after clearing Torny and Nicholas. They discovered a lead involving Torny's ex-girlfriend, Christine Shurrer. Torny hadn't mentioned his ex-girlfriend Christine to the police at first. However, when investigators looked at surveillance footage from near the crime scene, they spotted someone suspicious. The video showed a person in black, with a hood hiding their face, walking by Emma and Torny's house shortly before the attack. This figure seemed small and frail, leading some to think it might be a woman. When Torny saw the footage, he turned pale. He recognized the person's shape and movements as those of Christine Shurrer, his ex from years ago. Even after their breakup, Christine had been obsessively fixated on him, and her troubling behavior had only worsened over time. Christine had a troubled past. Christine was born in Hanover, Germany, in 1977. Her childhood was troubled. Her father left when she was young, leaving her with emotional scars that impacted her future relationships. Despite these challenges, Christine was smart and ambitious, doing well in her studies in history and archaeology. She traveled around Europe for archaeological digs and even spent some time in New York as part of an exchange program. However, despite her achievements, Christine struggled with emotional instability, and those closest to her often saw her darker side. In the summer of 2006, Christine met Torny while she was working as a tour guide on the Greek island of Crete. Torny, who was on vacation, found her smart and charming. They started dating, but soon Torny noticed some worrying signs. Christine became overly possessive and controlling, and when their relationship began to falter, she wouldn't let go. Even after Torny ended things in early 2007, Christine kept reaching out, insisting they belonged together. As time went on, her behavior became more erratic. She even threatened to hurt herself if Torny didn't take her back. One of the most alarming incidents occurred when Christine claimed she was pregnant with his child. She suddenly contacted Torny, saying she had given birth to a son and put him in foster care. Torny was skeptical, given their time apart, and when he asked for more details, her answers were unclear and inconsistent. After looking into it himself, Torny found out that her entire story was a lie. This only made him more determined to stay away from her. Even though Torny tried to distance himself from Christine, she continued to obsess over him. She stalked him online, collecting photos of him and his new life with Emma. Police found a folder on Christine's laptop filled with pictures of Torny, Emma, and their children, which she had taken from their social media profile, along with troubling captions that revealed her jealousy and anger. Christine's unhealthy fixation on Torny, along with her jealousy towards Emma, drove her to plot the horrific crime. On the day of the attack, Christine went to Emma and Torny's home, dressed in dark clothes to stay hidden. She waited for the right moment and entered the house shortly after Emma sent her last message to her sister. Driven by her delusional obsession with Torny and her strong dislike for Emma, Christine carried out the brutal attack with a hammer, leaving the family in a pool of blood. The discovery of Christine's obsession, along with the incriminating evidence found on her devices, led investigators to conclude that she was the one responsible for the brutal attack. Christine's obsession with Torny had spiraled into a deadly rage, transforming her into someone willing to do anything to eliminate the family she believed stood in the way of her unrealistic dreams. The trial. With more evidence coming to light, the police quickly moved to arrest Christine Shurrer. The discovered surveillance footage was a significant lead along with the collection of photos they had found on her laptop featuring Emma, Torny, and their children, along with unsettling captions that expressed her jealousy and anger toward Emma. This evidence made it clear that Christine was fixated on Torny and had harmful intentions toward his family. As more evidence surfaced, the police quickly arrested Christine Shurrer. Key to their case was the surveillance footage, along with the collection of photos on her laptop and the threatening messages on it, which clearly indicated Christine's unhealthy obsession with Torny and her intent to destroy his new family. Despite the strong evidence against her, Christine first denied any involvement in the crime. After her arrest in Germany, she was brought back to Sweden, where she insisted it was all a mistake. She claimed she wasn't involved in the attack and hadn't even been near the house that night. However, the investigators weren't convinced. They had solid proof of her presence near Emma and Torny's home, including surveillance footage and witness testimonies from neighbors who saw someone dressed in dark clothing acting suspiciously that evening. As Christine's trial began, her behavior became increasingly erratic. Although she maintained her innocence in court, she displayed strange and unsettling conduct. She often smiled inappropriately, waved at people in the courtroom, and even laughed when shown graphic photos of the crime scene involving Emma and her children. These disturbing reactions led some to question her mental state, as she seemed disconnected from the seriousness of the charges against her. Due to her bizarre behavior, the court ordered a psychiatric evaluation to assess whether Christine was mentally fit to stand trial. If found to be suffering from severe mental illness, it could significantly affect her sentencing. The results of the psychiatric evaluation took many by surprise. It was found that Christine was sane and was fully aware of her actions and their consequences. Her strange behavior in court, while disturbing, showed a cold indifference to the suffering she had caused. The prosecution built a strong case against her, focusing on her obsessive behavior toward Torny and how her jealousy of Emma turned into a brutal attack. They explained how Christine had stalked the family, gathered their photos, and planned the attack. The evidence, including surveillance footage, threatening messages on her photos, and her presence near the crime scene, painted a chilling picture of premeditated murder. Christine's defense team struggles to justify her actions. They claimed that her emotional struggles and the pain of her breakup with Torny led her to act irrationally in a moment of weakness. However, the evidence showed she had carefully planned the attack, especially since she brought the murder weapon, a hammer, with her. This made their argument weak. Despite her claims of innocence and attempts to act indifferent, the court found her guilty on all charges. Christine Shurrer was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murders of Max and Saga and for the attempted murder of Emma Janjestig. The judge also ordered her to pay $20,000 to Emma as a small measure of justice for the immense loss she had endured. Christine's chilling lack of remorse during the trial left a deep impact on everyone involved, marking her as one of Sweden's most cold-hearted criminals. For Emma and Torny, The conclusion of the trial marked the end of a long and painful chapter, but also the start of their healing journey. The emotional aftermath of the crime was immense. Emma had not only lost her 2 children but also faced critical injuries herself. She spent months in the hospital recovering, undergoing several surgeries to heal the wounds from the attack. The emotional pain was unbearable. During her recovery, she struggled to grasp the reality of losing Max and Saga. For weeks, she blocked out the truth when it was mentioned. It wasn't until she revisited the crime scene that the memories flooded back, forcing her to confront the terrible events of that night. Torny was also deeply affected. He had lost Max and Saga, whom he had grown to love as his own, and nearly lost Emma too. He felt guilty for not being able to protect them, even though he knew he couldn't have prevented what happened. Torny was a constant support for Emma, helping her through her physical and emotional recovery. Despite their pain, they chose to move forward together. Their bond grew stronger as they found comfort in each other. In the summer of 2010, 2 years after the attack, they married in a small ceremony. It was a bittersweet occasion. While they celebrated their love, the absence of Max and Saga was deeply felt. Their loss would always be a part of them. Over the years, Emma and Torny worked hard to rebuild their lives. Emma's recovery was long, but she gradually regained her strength. They later had 2 more children, providing them with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. They built a loving home, ensuring their new kids knew about Max and Saga, honoring their memory. Although life could never be the same, Emma and Torny found a way to move forward, building a new life from their past. Emma became a voice for victims of abuse, sharing her story to raise awareness about obsessive relationships and the need for mental health support. Her courage inspired many. For Emma and Torny, healing was a tough journey, but they grew stronger together. Their love remained strong, and while Max and Saga would always be in their hearts, they found ways to honor their memory while building a future with their new family. The verdict against Christine Shurrer brought some justice, but it was Emma and Torny's inner strength that helped them find peace and hope again. The emotional impact of the case lingered for everyone involved. This case is a tragic reminder of the serious dangers of obsession and untreated mental health issues. It shows how one person's unhealthy attachment can destroy families and leave lasting pain. Emma's journey to find strength and heal demonstrates the resilience of the human spirit, even in tough times. Although justice was served with Christine's conviction, the loss of 2 young lives will always be felt. We must remember that behind every crime, there are real people whose lives are changed forever. Their stories deserve to be shared and honored. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more true crime content. See you next time.